3 out of 4 podcasts now include video. So I
Yep.
just look at it as content that's easy to produce, easy to repurpose. And it's funny, you talk to people that say they don't listen to podcasts, but they'll tell you what Joe Rogan was talking about on the video clip, right? And so it's like, I don't care how people listen to me, just so long as they hear me.
Look into his eyes. They're the eyes of a man obsessed by
Success.
eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day.
Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge in. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes of keenness of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. Napoleon Hill.
Welcome to the Little Blue Pill for Business podcast, where it's all about getting it up and keeping it up. And yes, we're talking about revenue and profits. We all know that it's about the 6 inches between your ears. So I interview some of the hottest people in the industry that are blowing and going so we can help you get in on some action. So if you enjoy a little tongue in cheek and not just physically, you are in the right place. Today, we're jumping in bed with my most amazing guest, Tom Schwab. Tom, thank you so much for being here. See, we were talking about eating peanut butter before the show. Now I think I psychologically think I've been licking the peanut butter.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So give us a highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
All right. I'm the founder of Interview Valet. We're a podcast interview marketing service. We get thought leaders on targeted podcast interviews to help them grow their brand and grow their business. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, although our team of 30 is in Europe and North America.
I love it. So let's back up the bus a little bit. How did you get into kind of podcasts as your thing?
Well, I was going to say it's more of an evolution than a revolution, right? It's always makes sense in the rearview mirror. So my last company was HubSpot's first e-commerce case study. So we grew our entire business from a regional player to a national leader, sold it off using guest blogs. So
Wow.
about 2014, after I'd sold that company, I was in a mastermind group and some people said, "Well, how'd you do it?" And I'm like, "Well, I could tell you, but guest blogs don't really work anymore." So I hypothesized, I bet you could leverage other people's audiences on podcast interviews. So we tested it. It worked. I wrote a cheesy little PDF telling people how to do it. And people said, "Hey, I want to be the guest. You do all the rest." So we beta tested it. And for that first few years, people would say, "What's a podcast?" And then about 2019, it really took off and had a lot of fun with it, learned a lot of lessons, and excited to share what I know or what I've learned along the way.
I love it. So it seems as though the podcasting world in itself has changed substantially since it started. My best recollection, it was somewhere around 2011, and it was like strange people that had rooms, closets that were empty with soundproofing. We're getting into it. Things have changed substantially. What changes have you seen, maybe for the better and the worse, kind of ups and downs of it all?
Yeah, and I think it's, the whole name podcast, right? It refers to having it on an iPod, right? It used to be you'd have to put wires into it to download
Is that what it was? I was wondering what the hell it was.
It is. And,
Right.
now it's really more on-demand radio, right? And
Yeah.
so it's easy to download. And even the idea of on-demand radio, well, 3 out of 4 podcasts now include video. So I
Yeah.
just look at it as content that's easy to produce, easy to repurpose. And it's funny, you talk to people that say they don't listen to podcasts, but they'll tell you what Joe Rogan was talking about on the video clip, right? And so it's like, I don't care how people listen to me, just so long as they hear me.
Nice. I love it. And I have found that it is, so for those of you listening, we tend to do a little bit of the same thing in helping people to both streamline and get out there. And I firmly believe that this is one of the best ways to do it because it's so concise. I mean, you get your message out, you get it in a clear, concise way, you give all the raw footage and whatever to a team, and they slice and dice and make all your marketing work in whatever wonderful ways your ideal client consumes it. That's kind of the short and sweet of it, but feel free to elaborate on that. And what's your opinion of that? And why do you think people should be using video podcasting as their marketing arm?
Well, I hope that I'm clear and concise. I've never been called that before, but there's one thing that's true is that I am human. And I think
What?
today, especially when people are like, well, is that Chat GPT that made that? Or is that artificial? When you're doing video or even when you're doing audio like this, people realize, no, that's a human being, right? No AI is going to speak in broken sentences like I am, right? So there's that human interaction, and I think people can pick that up really quick. The other thing too is I think the best marketing should be magnetic, right? It attracts the right people and repels the wrong people, right? It's not supposed to attract everyone. So I think when you're real, you're raw, in video, in audio, people are either drawn towards you or repelled. And either way, that's fine because guess what? The sale is the sample. If they don't like you in your marketing, they're probably not going to working with you. So let's get that figured out early on, as we joked about, you don't need more leads, right? You don't need more leads, more followers. What you need is more happy clients because that's what drives revenue and profits.
Well, so this brings up an interesting topic because I know there's still a lot of people out there talking about you just need the right lead magnet, you just need to put the right funnel in place, you just need to, put money into ads and ads will, pump up your revenue. And to a huge extent, it drives me nuts because it sounds good, it sounds polished, it sounds savvy, but it's full of shit. Can we please just break this down and go, what is it that people actually want from somebody else? And how do they buy things right now?
I, you were spot on there. And I remember, previous client of ours, Gail Moody Bird, she's the CMO of LinkedIn Sales Navigator right now.
Nice.
She hit it when she said, we are getting more efficient at things that are less effective, right? So everybody's telling you, do more, 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 right? In the time that we've been talking, both of us could have sent 1 million emails. Seriously, right? Would they have done anything? No, they would have been in spam filters, right? So I think this idea of more, 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 or my favorite one is, funnels. You're one funnel away. No, you're not, right? Automation has a place. Funnels have a place. But if funnels worked so well, especially for those high ticket offers, right? Everybody's got a course on how to sell high ticket offers off of Facebook. I would just say if that works so well, how come Airbus and Boeing don't sell aircrafts off of Facebook, right? You would think that they would have figured it out by now. No, it's like they're trying to take what worked on a transaction and say, oh, this will work on a relationship sale. And while it might sound good, it doesn't work.
Well, yeah. So if we back up the marketing bus and go into strategy, what is it that in your opinion needs to happen in order to make these connections? Because there's a lot of people that are new to the whole entrepreneurial world going, okay, what is this stuff? How does it work? What's going on? And then you have a lot of veterans in the industry going like, this is such bullshit. Why would I even think about doing all this shit? Like, and a lot of people I think are still of the opinion, I really don't want to, as a CEO, air my dirty laundry in public. So, how the hell are we supposed to get people's attention and by the way, once upon a time when I was taking sales training, it was like, you have to connect with people 7 times got to touch people 7 times, which by the way is not socially polite public. You can't touch them anymore. You have to touch them 7 times in order to get the 10. Now it's 70 times. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of attention people think you need to have on somebody in order to be able to get their attention. And I mean, it's obviously it's wrong. We make compulsive decisions still. And so how does this all work in your opinion?
Well, I don't know if we go from 7 to 70, that went from creepy touching somebody 7 times to it's almost like assault. And I think that's how we feel
It
sometimes.
feels like it. We've
Yeah,
all
we're
been there in LinkedIn and otherwise and going, no, no, no.
yes, I don't want to be assaulted anymore. And
Right.
I think people start to see that. And I'm not sure if it's the number of times or the quality of that, right? Do
Mm.
I have to meet you 70 times before I remember you? Well, if it was just really brief, yeah. But if it was a meaningful conversation, no, that can accelerate things right there. And there's a great book out there. It's old now, but I think Bill Troy was the first one that said the emperor has no clothes. He wrote a book called Clicksand: How Digital Marketing is Ruining Your Business. And yeah, the people that are selling us the tools are focusing on metrics that may not mean anything for us, but it supports what they're doing, right? How big is your email list? Who cares, right? How big is your customer list? That's more important. Or the idea of you need to just scream louder, louder, and louder. Well, it's the people that are selling us the megaphones. I think I go back to, you know, does this make sense to my grandfather? Right? My grandfather never knew the internet, but man, he knew how to run a business, right? And I think he would be better off today than say my grandkids, right? Because they might understand the technology, but they don't understand the strategy. And he would look and say, okay, I've got to get the attention of my ideal customers. Okay, where are my ideal customers? Where are they already listening? Right? Where can I tap into that? What relationships can I leverage to get introduced or, talk in front of them? And I think that's where it's really powerful. This idea that I want to speak to everyone, that's ridiculous, right? The people that are trying to sell the impressions, they want you to talk to everybody. The people that really want to make a difference are the ones that are focused and saying, how can I have a meaningful conversation with somebody that could be an ideal customer? And you know, later on in life, I got my MBA in marketing, spent way too much time and money in that. And what I learned is that marketing at its heart is having a conversation with somebody that could be an ideal customer. Boom. If you start from there, figure out how you can do that. And you probably don't need half of the tools that they want to sell you.
Absolutely. So when it comes to getting out there and putting out the word of mouth, say with a company that's of a fair size, does it make more sense for the CEO to be the voice of the company? Does it make more sense to have, say, a salesperson going out and doing interviews? Does it make more sense to have an engineer of the company, somebody that knows the nuts and bolts of what's going on with the company and can differentiate why their company from the competition? Who does it make sense to have as a voice of the company? And when it comes to kind of exposing themselves, how do they make that transition more comfortable?
Yeah. And I would say, yes, all of those people should be out there, right? Because they all have something different to add, right? The CEO can talk about the strategy, the higher level things in the company. The engineer can talk about different aspects. The sales person can talk about different aspects. There's this idea of that content is king, but I think context is God, right? Small g and everything. But I think there has to be multiple voices out there in the company. And that's something that we're trying to do more. I mean, I've done over 1,000 interviews, but we've also got our director of operations now that talks about it, our salespeople, right? Because they've got a different view on things. At one time, we worked with a Fortune 500 company, and they had 6 different people that were their talent, right? And we call the guests the talent, right?
Mhm.
And it was great because, there'd be certain podcasts that may be tech focused that the CEO had nothing to add to that, right? Or there could be one that was more general focused. Maybe they start off with the CEO talking on there and it worked great. Well, the podcaster is not going to invite the CEO back every quarter to talk about something again. But if that podcast worked great for you, maybe there's someone else at your company that you could have talk about something, right? So you get multiple bites at the apple. We've even worked with a Fortune 500 company that used podcast interviews as a recruiting tool. And they didn't want their old managers and CEO and vice presidents out there on podcasts. They were trying to get young engineers. So they got the young engineers out there talking about the neat things that they were doing because that's who their ideal audience, right? Potential people that could work for this big company. That's what they were going for. So I think you want to match the speaker or the guest to the goals and also to the audience that you're talking to.
Right. So when it comes to working with your company, how does that work as far as do people need to have an idea of what they want to do and how they want to get it out there, or if they want to do their own, what does that whole journey look like?
Yeah, and so it all starts off with a conversation, right?
Mhm.
People come to us and often they'll say, well, I've heard about podcasting, right? And I thought about doing my own podcast, or maybe I did, and it was a lot of work. So I think I'll guest, right? And I always push back that the goal is not podcast guesting, right? Nobody wants to be a guest on a podcast or have their own podcast. What they want is the results that come from that. So we try to focus on what are you trying to accomplish, right? Is it to get new SEO value? Is it to launch a product? Is it to launch a book? Is it to get more visibility for your leadership team? Is it just playing a lead game, right? Lead generation. And because that works great for that, the data shows that leads that come from podcasts close faster for a higher value, higher lifetime value, and they churn less, right? So we really focus on what are you trying to get out of this? That's the foundational thing. The second one is who do you want to talk to, right? Not everybody wants to hear what you're talking about. You just want to
What?
talk to oh yeah. No, I remember
Come
somebody came to
on.
me and they said, well, I want to talk to everyone. Well, you know, define everyone, right? There's what, 7 billion people?
And
The
counting.
people that don't speak English aren't your audience, right? And, the people that haven't read a book since high school probably aren't going to buy your book to read. So who is it for? If something is for everybody, it's for no one. So we
Mhm.
really try focusing in on there. And then we put together a strategy, right? Of how can you use podcast interviews, not just as an activity, but as a marketing channel. And based on your goals, you can put different things together there. And it's really powerful. And one of the neat things now is how you can control not only the crowd you're speaking to, and you can control the conversions of how they go from being a passive listener to an active visitor to an engaged lead. But man, you can even control the conversations that people are having that didn't even listen to the podcast interview by repurposing that content to being omnipresent, to be on social media with the clips and the video reels and all that great content from the podcast where people see that and it spurs on that engagement and that discussion. It's a powerful marketing strategy.
Nice. Well, and kind of funny, kind of you're spurring my brain going, oh yeah, right. I was going to do a video about that. Oh yeah, right. I was going to do a video about that. And to me, it's that engaging in that conversation allows us to be able to think of the things that our audience is looking for, being able to put it on video, giving it to a team, and being able to, slice and dice it and use it in your social media marketing. the nirvana of
Ah.
social marketing that we've been waiting for all these years, instead of, just sit in your office and come up with this script and read it and try not to sound like you're reading. And yep,
And everybody goes, wow, I wish I could create as much content as
right.
fill in the blank, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I wish I could create as much content as him. You do. We all live, we're all talking. The difference is it's not a content creation, it's a content capture, right? And if you look at most of these people, they're capturing a little bit of it and then they repurpose the heck out of it, right? So you're seeing a same clip in different ways, right? Joe Rogan, I've never listened to the full 3 hours of his podcast, but they'll go back and they'll find the golden nuggets. And I'll listen to it for 90 seconds, maybe 3 minutes. And that's what I need there. So I think so often we get this more, right? And that's what the industry is teaching us. Oh, you got to do more content. You got to do this. You do plenty of content right now. Just capture it and repurpose it, right? You can get a month's worth of content out of 30, 45-minute podcast interview. You just need to focus on that and have the system and the discipline to use that. Don't just keep creating more and more. It's stupid. Why would you create more if you haven't used the stuff that you've already created?
Absolutely. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story of one of your clients. But before we do that, we're going to take a little pause.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I am super excited to find out about, or to hear the story of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
Oh, well, this one, Sharon wrote a great book. It's called The Pursuit of Time and Money, right? So she was in corporate America. She started consulting on her own. She wrote a great book and she started to work with us early on a podcast book tour, right? We do a lot of these for nonfiction authors, and it works best when they've got consulting and things like that with it. So she got out there and she started to talk about her book. She got the questions that people were asking, and she's like, oh, I need to work on that. So she came up with the product for it before the book even launched. So she had now another product on this. The book launched, it hit all the bestseller lists there, and she had so much fun doing it. She's like, huh, I want to do my own podcast also. And with the podcast guesting and podcast interview marketing that she did, she was able to see that, you know what resonates most is, and who I like working with most, is family businesses. So the feedback that she got from the podcast interview allowed her to niche down and focus more on family businesses. So not only did she launch a book, which was her goal, but she also got the market feedback. She also got the experience to launch her own podcast. And, it's one of these things where she went out there in the market and they told her what they wanted. And that allowed her to build an entire business around it. I still love that one. And it shows what you can do with exposure, right? Exposure brings opportunity. You'll go out there with one goal and you'll get so many more. I was going to try going, well, you get the glass slipper and the carriage and all the rest of that. I'm not even going to try the metaphor on the Cinderella thing.
Awesome. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
Well, I was going to say, I'll make it easy. All of our testing said, send people to one place, right? Don't send them, go to my Facebook here, my Twitter here, or, email me here. Just go to interviewvalet.com/blue pill. And everything Michelle and I talked about will be there. I've got an assessment, right? 10 questions. Will podcast interview marketing work for you? I wrote a book called Podcast Guest Profits How to Grow Your Business with the Targeted Interview Strategy. If you want a free copy of that, that'll be on that page too. And if you listen to this and it's like, huh, I'd really like to explore this, right? If you'd like to talk with me about how you could leverage targeted podcast interviews to grow your brand, to grow your business, just go back to interviewvalet.com/blue pill.
Love it. We will, of course, have that link in the show notes. So peeps, just scroll down, click on the link, open it up in a new browser because we're not done yet. So I do get to ask you, Tom, how do you get it up and keep it up in your business?
Oh, I've got to say, my wife helps me with this,
Nice.
right?
She's a good
And
woman.
no, she's a good woman, and behind every entrepreneur has to be the cheering squad and everything like that. So from that standpoint, she cheers me on when things aren't going well. She reminds me of when things are going well, that that it doesn't always last this way, and she's great at asking the question, well, how does this help your business? How does this grow the business? Because there's so many times where it's the shiny object. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And while she doesn't have an MBA, she understands that we need to focus on sales and profit, not just activity. So I get it up and I keep it up with my bride.
Aw, that's so sweet. Excellent. So when it came to your business at that point in time in your life, when you had your systems in place and it was like, we're successful, but I either want to quit because I'm so frustrated, or something will change and we can go gangbusters. In that moment, what would you say your biggest frustration with your business was?
I hated my business.
Tell me
Right?
more.
So it had gotten to the point where I felt like every problem was my problem
Mhm.
and that we didn't solve any problems. We just kept repeating them. Right. And that um, people didn't work for me. I worked for them. And when people would say, well, you want to grow your business? And I would just say, I don't want to grow my problems. Right. And so if you told me doubling my business was going to double my profits, at my problems, at that point, I would have said, let's cut sales by 50%. You know, at that point, my peace of mind, I valued more than growing the business. And then I think there's also a little bit of, speaking for myself, a little bit shame with it. So I had built something that worked until it didn't. And all of a sudden, the only person I could complain or blame for it was myself. And I took it personally that I have failed at this. And what I came to realize is that you outgrow everything, right? You grow up to a certain stage, and then you've got to redo the systems. Later on in life, I read a book. Guy was a client of ours called "Grow Like a Lobster." Can't think of his name will come to me in a second. But what his point is that lobsters grow and then their shell constrains them. And if they don't molt that off, it'll kill them. But when they molt it off, it's a very uncomfortable, dangerous place to be. And then they can go. And I always thought that business was going to be just straight up and to the right, whereas it's more steps. And that when I hit that things where we were starting to have problems, where the systems didn't work anymore, that was a good thing of saying, we need to change something fundamentally, not that I have failed it, right? The answer is not to go back down and get smaller. It's to change things and go back up. The other thing that with that too, is I didn't know what I didn't know, right? If you've never been through the molt, it's really scary, right? So for somebody to say, hey, this is what you need to have in place to get to the next level, right? You can't just, what got you here is not going to get you there.
Nice. Love it. What would you say kept you up at night?
Um, letting down my customers, letting down my team. Um, I felt like I was a failure, right? How come everybody else can do this so easily and I can't? And the other thing was that I think there was a little bit of imposter syndrome also, because people would say, oh, it's, you've got such a great business that runs so well. And I always visioned it as like a Hollywood studio, right? It looks great from the front, but if you went around back, you'd see it's put together with duct tape and chicken wire, right? And when people would, the fear of saying nobody would ever buy this company, right? This is unsaleable, right? Because no one else could work it and do it this way. And so in that way, it felt trapped, right? Uh, that I couldn't get away from it, and I made the problem, and I had to fix the problem too. I had to fix the problem or shut it down.
And what would you say if you could, at that point, wave a magic wand and have your ideal solution? What might it have been?
Um, I don't know that there's an ideal solution, right? Because if I would have, if I would have, um, wished all my problems to be away, oh, if, um, we're at 7 figures. I wish I was at 8 figures and didn't have these problems. Well, boom, I would have had new problems. I think what I needed at that point was somebody to say, congratulations, right? You have grown into these problems. This is normal. This is a good sign. This is an opportunity, as opposed to seeing the pain, right? And that, oh, we can't grow anymore because of this. Having somebody say, this is good. This is the opportunity. Once you put these things in place, you're going to get to the next level. But don't think that next level is without problems. It's just different problems, new problems, better problems, more profitable problems. So I think the idea of the magic wand or the silver bullet is something that early on in life and in business I was looking for too often, right? Um, there's no silver bullet, there's no magic wand. Just sort of that. I think the guidance and the knowledge that you're on the right path and you'll get through it.
Nice. If somebody were to come up to you and say, congratulations, your business is completely fucked up, that's perfect. Would that have appealed to you at that time? Or would it have just been, I've been exposed?
Um, I both. And let me give you an example on this.
Yep.
One of my coaches,
Mhm.
he was a client of ours, and this is with Interview Valet. Uh, we were out for lunch, and we're talking and stuff like that. Um, and he said, "So, what's your profitability?" And I gave him a number, and he just smiled and ate a little bit more. He goes, Tom, can I make an observation? And I'm like, sure. He says, when people answer that number and it ends with a 0 or a 5, and there's nothing after the decimal point, they don't know what their profitability is. They just made it up. And I was just like so insulted and relieved at the same time. It's like, oh my gosh, he realizes that I just made that number up. And at that point, it's like, yeah. And he's like, that's so normal, right? You just need to get better controls on your finances and stuff like that. He's like, if you had better controls on your finances, you could have told me down to the decimal point, and next month when it moved, you would have known if you're getting better or for worse. So I think there's that thing of, he didn't call me out on it. He's like, I've seen this in so many other businesses, right? Yes, your business is fucked up, right? That's fine. That's normal that you care about that. And you're the one that can fix it now, right? And guess what? When you fix it, you're going to grow to the next level, right? And just sort of, I think if it's almost like penance, right? Well, if you can come clean with somebody and say, yeah, it's messed up. I understand it's messed up. Everybody's business is messed up. It's all chicken wire and stuff like that. But um, somebody else told me this. I thought my business originally, I thought it was a house of cards. It's like, yeah, everybody thinks about that. And you'll grow to a certain point where it becomes a house of sticks or a house of straw, right? And it's like, it still seems fragile, but then you get to a house of sticks, and then eventually you get to to a house of bricks, right? But nobody starts with the house of bricks.
Love it. Love that. So is there something that you think would have got your attention had somebody kind of pointed that out?
I think to say it's normal,
Mm.
right? Because the easiest person to lie to is to lie to yourself, right? And I can remember early on in my last company thinking, oh, yeah, we're not as profitable as we should be, but I'll grow into that, right? All we need to do is, once we get more sales, I'll get more profits. And, that's the lie I told myself. And it never happened. Right. And later on, I learned, somebody pointed out, it's like, yeah, if you can't be profitable when you're small, you won't be profitable when you're big. Right. It's a mindset. It's systems, it's controls on there. So I think if somebody would have told me this is normal, but it doesn't have to stay this way.
And where would have been the best place for people to get a hold of you at that point in your business?
I think I wasn't seeking out the information, right? Because I was ashamed on that.
Right.
Um, uh,
So business coaches, Vistage group kind of thing, like
I
private.
but I think if,
thing?
I think by the time you're in Vistage or EO, something like that, you're sort of at the point now where you realize I don't have it all together. I
Mm.
can be honest with people.
Okay.
So at that point, definitely would have been very, very open to it at EO or at Vistage. As you ask that question, I almost think of, um, if I just came across the information or if somebody shared it with me and I
Mhm.
did it. I remember a client we had, she's a mental health coach for executives with anxiety. And she said, none of the executives would search, um, you know, help with anxiety because they didn't know what they had and they were ashamed by it. And so it wasn't until they heard somebody else talking about it or they heard her describing it and they're like, oh yeah, that's the problems that I have also. And then they would reach out to her on that. In some ways, I wonder if it's people sharing their experiences. So if I heard another person that was like me, and this is where I was, these are the problems I had, these are the feelings I had, right? That if they were telling their stories that I resonated with, and you said, "Oh yeah, that's normal, and that's how we help people," I think that probably would have been an easier um, an easier way to get to me.
Awesome. I love it. You have been absolutely awesome. I have thoroughly enjoyed our pillow talk. Any last words for our peeps?
I would just say to everyone, what you have right now, if it's version 1.0 or 100, right? It could help someone, right? There's someone right now on their knees praying for the solution you have. And the reason they aren't buying from you is because they don't know you exist, right? So get out there, share what you know, and figure out how you can do that as a podcast guest, as a podcast host, on videos, public speaking, blogs, whatever it is. But what you know could help so many people. So I'd encourage you to share that.
So I love it. Thank you, Tom, for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is.
Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec, your mistress in business. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show, invite your friends. You know how we love a threesome. We want to help you get it up and keep it up when you need us. Talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Little Blue Pill for Business podcast with your mistress in business, Michelle Nedelec. Why are you still here? Go to littlebluepillforbusiness.com and get your goodies. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share it with somebody else that you know would enjoy getting it up in business after you subscribe to the podcast, of course, so you won't miss any future episodes. Now, check the notes for links. Oh, and only tell your wife if she's into this, entrepreneurship. And I'll see you both on the other side.